Welcome to another edition of Talking Tech. The topic of today's conversation is going to be around SD-WAN, but more specifically, I want to dive into three specific features that I really think are changing the game and making this technology so popular and so important for organizations to evaluate and look into for their network connectivity. The first feature that I really like about SD-WAN is it enables organizations to move away from the traditional MPLS lease lines and really leverage any type of connectivity to access their corporate data and connect their wide area network. With SD-WAN, you can leverage much lower cost broadband services. What I mean by this is, as opposed to an MPLS that traditionally uses very expensive private lease lines like T1 that only have a speed of about 1.5 megabits per second, today's broadband internet speeds are up to 100 megabits, 500 meg, 1 gig, multi-gig even, at a relatively low cost and much more efficiently to access applications that are traditionally now stored in the cloud. SD-WAN is also going to enable you to leverage more modern connectivity types like 4G LTE, which is a big factor that I leverage with a lot of my clients for either a simple network connection where you just need about 10 megabits per second, or perfect for failover capabilities to make sure that your company is up and running if that 100, 500 meg internet broadband connection happens to go down. You have that failover to other sources like a second broadband connection or 4G LTE. So that brings me into the second feature of SD-WAN that I think is really game changing. And that's going to be that active network redundancy and resiliency for backups and failover. A lot of SD-WAN routers are going to enable you to connect 2 or more network connections and work them in an active capacity. So you can spend low-cost broadband internet, connect that to your network. Let's say you have a 50 megabit per second internet connection and a 20 megabit per second internet connection, both connected to the same SD-WAN router. You can actually work these in an active capacity. So you're getting the full 70 megabits per second as opposed to a traditional way of a backup router that's sitting there in failover mode where it will not actually activate on your network and kick in unless the main connection goes down. You can connect 2 different types of broadband high-speed internet access to a single router, and they can actually aggregate the entire service. And in the scenario of an active, the failover is sub-second. So a lot of times I will suggest that organizations put even a third connectivity in there, a low-cost 4G LTE connection, $100 a month, where if somehow both of your main internet connections shut off or disconnected or having latency issues, there's a sub-second failover to that 4G LTE connection, and you have that 10 megabit per second backup circuit, the backup to the backup, to make sure your data is always available to your end users. And the third game-changing feature that SD-WAN unlocks that I am really passionate about is the wide area network traffic optimization. So based on the software and the intelligence within the router, typically when I'm deploying an SD-WAN, I'll sit down with an organization and I will identify what the specific applications are that are most important to their business. And I can leverage that SD-WAN and program it to prioritize the traffic for that application. And it doesn't matter what that application is. Maybe it is your unified communication as a service, that you really need that quality of service. So we're going to dedicate quality of service to that UCaaS platform. and that's going to get the first line of data as it's traversing the network. Or maybe in today's mobile workforce, video is an enormous, important application for your organization. We can make sure that those packets are prioritized and put above all else on the network, as well as best path routing. So perhaps one of your circuits is using the data for the video to make sure that it's always available, and there's another circuit that's traversing the cloud applications and other applications that are making your organization successful. So today we talked about 3 of the features that I'm very passionate about that I think are changing the game in wide area networking that are unleashed by SD-WAN. And those include the ability to use any type of transportation for network connectivity, whether that's direct internet access, high-speed internet access, broadband, 4G LTE. The options are limitless and they really expand beyond what MPLS was ever capable of doing. The second being active-active failover, where you can aggregate 2 different network connections to make sure that your bandwidth is always available and your applications are always accessible. And the last feature that we talked about today was wide area network optimization. We're using the intelligence of SD-WAN. We can actually pick and choose which applications or services need to be prioritized on our network and do this intelligently through the SD-WAN router. So those are my 3 favorite features of SD-WAN, but what are your 3 favorite features? Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions and I can provide any assistance as you assess this technology. Take care. Stay tuned for the next episode of Talking